y'all wonder why I'm laughing, it's because I crack up every time Gary does his 5, 4, 3 to start thing again. We started again. All right, this is some of the different rocks, the different igneous rocks. Now we're going to move on to non-volcanic rocks, and there are several. You know, how do you get igneous rocks without coming in a volcano? Well, one way is through a fulgurite. Y'all know what a fulgurite is?
I don't think we have one out there.
Yes, I
Yes.
do.
Oh, okay.
This is a fulgurite. I won't have the last thing.
From lightning?
I'm sorry?
From lightning?
From a lightning strike. I'm a big fan of fulgurites. The sergeants that used to work for me hated to see a lightning storm come, because we'd be out in the desert, and I'd go out into the desert with one of our Jeeps, and when the lightning would strike, I'd chase one of them out, and I'd stand there and guide them where the strike was, so we'd try to find the fulgurite. But you get more of them here in Florida than you do in New Mexico, just by, literally orders of magnitude more. And that's a strike, a lightning strike that hits the sand so hot that it glassifies the sand going down. Okay, I have seen fulgurites that are like this big, this long, huge, and that's what they call a 3 or 4 stroke lightning strike. Okay, if you watch lightning, especially if you film it and watch it, it'll stroke. It'll fire several times. So that's where this is Libyan desert glass. Okay, this is a piece of glassified sand. It's actually not from Libya. Sit down. He said. It's not actually from Libya. It's actually from Egypt. It's from the Great Sand Desert in Egypt. There was quite a bit of that. So at some point, and we know that it was at least before 40,000 years ago, a significant meteor hit the desert out there and spread this glass everywhere. And I have some artifacts that was prehistoric man had made cutting tools with them. I didn't even know what they were. And I was going to have one of our rock guys going to cut me a knife, take a piece of that glassified glass, the living glass, and make me a knife out of it. And one of the guys that knew what he was talking about looked, he said, "You're not going to do that." I said, "Yeah." He said, "No." He said, "That's an artifact." I said, "What do you mean an artifact?" He said, "Let me show you." He took it, and it had conchoidal fractures in it where someone had fractured the edge to make a sharp edge. And then he said that was done about 40,000 years ago when the desert was lush. When the Egyptian desert was green. And as time went on, it was dull, and they would just throw it aside, and then it laid there in the desert with the sand blowing on it, and it made it into what this desert glass is like this. I didn't even know it. He said, "Look, hold it in your hand." I put it in my hand, and it fit perfectly. Where your thumb would go in here on this side, and your finger would curl around here, and it was a perfect cut. I've got that. If I think about it, remind me to bring that. I'll show you so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Okay, and then there's my favorite of all, and I don't see it. No, it's in here. It's trinitite. We're going to talk about these other rocks that are in here in a few minutes. Trinitite is from the first atomic bomb in New Mexico, in the desert, and that's what this stuff right here is. It glassified the desert sand. Okay, it is very, very slightly radioactive. That piece there doesn't have much. That piece must have been out near the edge, because you can barely detect anything on it. But it glassified the desert. Now I can take, I guess, I don't know if you all are aware, but my degree is engineering. I'm a nuclear engineer, and I work for the Defense Department. And I ran a nuclear reactor. That was one of my jobs. I had several. And so I analyzed a few pieces of that, and I could probably tell you about where the blast was relative to the piece, depending on what's in it and how it worked. If you have a piece of that that's got bubbles on all sides and everything, it was sucked up into the cloud. If you ever seen a picture of that first atomic bomb, it was sucked up, and then it solidified and then dropped back down and spread out over a rather large area there in the desert. But that's just 3 types. The other one is a tektite. The tektite is when a meteor, and I have a whole bag full. Where did that? This is one of the bennies you're going to get.
Oh yeah, they're in the box still.
Where?
Down in the box. You want to please go with that.
This is one of the bennies that you're going to get for attending the class tonight. You're going to get a free tektite. So I want everybody to, as you pass it around,
You can see that.
just open the Ziploc bag up there and pick out one. Pick out one that feels good to you. You know, stick your hand in there and feel around. You know, and grab one that feels good. These came from Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia is where major ones hit. You know, we get it's a tektite called moldavite. It's a green glass, but these aren't from that one. These are from a different strike in a different place. But it still is. I think it's in southern Czechoslovakia. But those are actually, what happens here is this is not a meteor. Everyone thinks the tektites are meteors that came through and landed. They're not. They're where the meteor hit the earth and sprayed out this molten rock. Okay, and that's what the tektite is. Okay. Didn't I just show that picture? Okay. Now we're going to talk about metamorphic rock. Okay, this is metamorphic. And what metamorphic is you have change. You start out with something up here either up here or down in the middle somewhere, and it changes. It changes into something else, and that's why I kind of like sedimentary rock, because mostly it's sedimentary rock that changes into something else, into a different kind of rock. And there's called banded and non-banded. Here are a couple of pieces of limestone that have been basically, this is not limestone. This was limestone. This started out as limestone, but it's now been changed into something much harder than limestone. This is the original limestone. This right here. This is a piece of limestone that came from. Okay, and here is this one. Okay, what happens is you've got banded and non-banded, and that has to do with it actually has to do with the bands in there. And I don't have any real good examples here right now. Banded. I tried to find some and I couldn't. When I went to set this up, I just kept putting it off and I didn't get it. But this is how it happens. You have your magma here, and you have like mud turns into limestone, or mud, they call it mud lime, you know, which is it's like a collection of all the dead shells and stuff. You know, it's not really stone yet. It's not a conglomerate. Everybody wants to call it a conglomerate, but it's not really a conglomerate because it hasn't solidified yet. But anyway, then it goes into shale or mudstone, and then it goes to slate, and then it goes to schist or gneiss. This rock is pronounced gneiss, even though it's got a big G in there. It's pronounced gneiss. And that's what we're going to look at right now. I'm not sure why I put this in here. That just sort of shows the way it travels. They call it metamorphism. It's the way it travels. It becomes more and more metamorphic as it comes down. Does that make sense? And you can see this up back where I'm from, up in the mountains in West Virginia. You'll have big shale beds. Big shale beds. You go along and you'll see this along the side of the highways where they've cut through the mountain. You know, and then when you get further down in the mountain, okay, if you go down, you'll find a lot of the schist. Like our place up in West Virginia, you find very little shale, but you find lots of schist. Okay, it's got mica in it, and it comes apart real easy. It's not solid. Now this,
train coming through.
in case you all didn't know, we're waiting for the train. And this is telling us the train is coming. There. Okay, this is gneiss. This is a rock. This is called Acosta River gneiss. This is the oldest rock on the face of the earth. Okay, this rock is 4.03 billion years old. It is literally the oldest rock. This guy I know. Let me pull this up. This is both This is both, these are from like 200 or 300 feet apart. This is up from the Northwest Territories up in Canada. And it's from the Acosta River. That's where it gets its name. It's an island in the middle of the river, and they can only get to it when it's either very frozen or whether it's very fluid, very water, no freezing at all, because they have to land on the river. There's nowhere else to land up in there. And I did this just to see, because we're going to be talking at the Rock Club tomorrow night, and I did polish a piece of this just to see what it looks like. It looks just like any other rock. And how they did this is they fractured this open, and this has got zircon crystals down inside of it. Zircon crystals are the oldest thing on the planet. Now the zircon crystals in Australia from the Jack Hills are older than this rock. This rock is 4.03, I think I'm right, yeah, 4.03, and the zircon crystals measures 4.3. Okay, so it's like 300 million years older than this, but it's just one crystal is all they found out of. And those crystals came out of whatever they were formed in and went into a conglomerate, but that conglomerate is only 3.8 billion years old. So they make a big deal out of this. But I want you to see this. This is when you hold this in your hand. I have a piece of this that I cut, and I set it on my desk, and I sat there. And I study it sometimes. I sit there and I just think about that piece of rock sitting there for that length of time. It's just really, really a long time. And this is Mark Brown. This is the guy that got it for me. That rock came from right in here.
Yes.
You sit there and you think about how old that is, how long that is. It's just amazing. Now, it wasn't always on the surface. It's metamorphic. It's nice. So at one time it was buried way down, then it came up, and then everything that was above it got washed away. Okay, the continents drifted. We've had continental drift all kind of ways. If you come tomorrow, tomorrow night out at the Rock Club, or maybe I'll do that little 20-minute talk some other time here or something. But it shows you how all that happened. Okay, what on the Earth's surface that says older? Oh yeah. See, I had to get my own hint. I had to put a hint there because I always forget this. I don't know where I did with it. Well, you're just going to have to take my word for it because I don't see it.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for that little meteor. That little meteorite. Yeah, here it is. Oh. Okay. What's older than the oldest rock on the Earth? This little guy right here. That's a little meteorite. Okay. And that guy comes from up in, I think it's Chile. Does it tell you on there, did I say which one that's from? Can you see it?
It doesn't say a place.
Okay, well, I think it's from, I can't remember. It's probably either Mexico or down on the South American border somewhere. But that rock there is like...
it's Diablo.
Yeah.
So Canyon Diablo meteorite.
Yeah, I
Give you a
can't.
hint?
I think it's probably Mexican or one of those
Some
down
Spanish,
through
yeah.
there. I'll look that up before I do that again. But that meteor there is dated. They dated it at about 5 billion years. Okay. I've got a meteor. I was going to bring it tonight. It's too heavy. I have a meteor about this big. It's really old. It's really big. And that one's 5.2 or something like that. And I could tell you how they determine that, but we'd be out here all night because it's a very long, involved process. Okay, and now I just threw this in. This is the youngest rock on the face of the surface of the Earth. This comes from Ascension Island, and Ascension Island is about 60 some odd miles west of the Great Rift, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, Rift. What does it say? Ridge. It's actually a rift, but it is a ridge in there. And that was also hard to come by because, you know, they don't do much there. But that's like, okay, and that, you know, rock just isn't formed. If you get a volcanic eruption up that comes up, okay, that can be new. We have volcanoes erupting all the time, but that's coming from in the earth. This is stuff that's actually on the surface of the earth, and that's where that is. And this tells you that's a real busy slide, but I put it in there so I remember what to tell you. Okay, now, I don't see them, here they are. I probably don't have enough of these because I wasn't sure how many people were going to be here. But Gary made a good point from the other talk last time, that people have trouble with geologic ages. And I was supposed to give you this initially when we first started out, and I forgot. But this is just a little chart that will tell you our ages, the geologic ages. It's just one of these right here. One of this side is all it is printed. That's printed, and this just gets you a little bit of color so that when I'm talking about it, you can see what I'm talking about. This is the Pre-Cambrian, and this is what we're going to talk about tomorrow night down in Spring Hill. But maybe we'll do it here sometime too, because I'm a real fan of what happened in here. Because you study on it, and there can be so many different ways. There's probably at least 50 different theories that I've been reading on about how this stuff was produced in here, what happened. And we're pretty sure in the Haitian time frame that there was little small islands were just being formed. Some of the crust was solidifying. It was just starting to happen, just getting going. And then toward the end of this period, you know, things were changing. Things happened to change. And that's where you see this 3.8 billion years. And this is when the Acosta was formed, toward the end of this. And then we move into the Archean. I can't pronounce it. I'm a West Virginia type. I have a hard time with some of these science words, so you just have to bear with me. But this is a period in here from 3.8 to 2.5, give or take. And there's a lot going on in here. You're starting to get fossils. Now we're actually starting to get fossils. You're going to see some fossils on Thursday that are 3.8. They're some of the oldest fossils on the face of the earth. The oldest ones that I can find that people are willing to part with. But we'll talk about that. But anyway, that's just a little bit. Was there enough to go around?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's fine.
So anyway, that's just to let you have a feel as we're talking about this stuff tomorrow. That'll give you a feel for Thursday, give you a feel for where things are. Okay, now we move to sedimentary rocks. And here again,
Mark, take a break.
okay, we'll take a little short break. Since the boss is telling me it's time to take a little break, we will take a little short 10-minute or 2-minute, 3-minute break.
He's
A little short.
Okay.